Thumbs up. I guess we should talk for a sec, Suncast. How are you doing? Yeah? How's your weather? Did it get cold in the last few days? Really? How so? Oh no. Oh no. What? It snowed? You're a little bit west of Detroit, right? Oh my gosh. All right, we just shared you on my page, and let's share us on the TWiRT page. Mr. Ryan Harper is the guy. Is he? Okay. He's the super dog of all dogs.
Kirk, I thought that's hyping me up. We get Ryan on here, and we'll let David take off.
All right, and on the Facebooks. I'm over here off camera. I'll be back with you in a couple minutes. We're getting ready to do our weekly show, so just hang on. All right, gentlemen. Yeah, what we do is on Facebook, our network that produces the show is called the GFQ network. Now, GFQ stands for Guys from Queens because it's in Queens, New York. Started out as a podcast network that did pretty much exclusively wrestling shows. And in fact, the founder of the network does a weekly radio show about professional wrestling. It's kind of a big deal. They do other shows as well. And we got connected with them about probably 8, 9 years ago or so. And they produce and distribute our show, so I don't have to do it. Right. Our producer's a guy named Suncast. That's the name he goes by. He's a former broadcast engineer, and he produces the whole show out of his home, which is pretty amazing. He's got great internet. He's got the equipment. For years, he would remote control the gear that was in Queens, New York. But he said, "Man, this is I'm just going to do it from my home." So he produces the shows from his home, and but then we also push this live on a YouTube channel right now, and Suncast does that for me. It's also on Facebook, and then on Facebook I share it to my personal page, which I've got 5,000 friends, and then we share it to the This Week at Radio Tech page, of course, which is about the podcast anyway. And then we typically will share it to one of the broadcast groups as well, with 10 or 15,000 members. Now, how many will see it? Don't know, but it'll be there. We do it live, and then we will. Suncast will do a produced version of it with a proper intro and outro, and we'll publish that within the next 24 to 36 hours. So that, and then it'll live on the internet forever. So, hey, Suncast, I guess we're about ready to go, aren't we? It's about time. How's my audio? Is it too loud, too low? What do you think? Just fine. Good deal. Any word from Chris Tarr yet? Okay. I will keep an eye on our chat, so I'll try to cut my eyes over there if I can. And so I'm doing several of the ads live because the ad for Henry is live. I guess the only recorded spot. Well, there's the Max Connect, and then there is going to be the Bionics ad. Right. Right. Okay. Good deal. All right. I need somebody to start the show with me right here. We'll stand up with a 2-shot. All righty, Mark. Good to see you, man.
Nice seeing you, Kirk.
All right. Well, let's. I usually do a countdown, then we start the show officially. So all this will get cut off eventually. So, all righty. This is the point in the show where I usually take a drink of whiskey to calm my nerves.
I don't let anybody drink it.
And it's after the show that Suncast, the producer, takes a drink of whiskey because we've driven him crazy by then. All right, we'll start the show here. Hey, everybody in the network, glad you're with us. We're going to start the show live. We'll do that in 3, 2. Hi, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to, oh my gosh, the light bulbs at the top of the tower. I say that every week, and I usually have one light bulb at the top of the tower behind me on my set in my office, but we're in the birthplace of light bulbs at the top of the tower. So I'm delighted to be here. Hey, thanks to you for joining us. We're glad that you're here for the next hour. I'm Kirk Harnack, and probably when I leave here, I'll be him too. But for the next hour, we'll be live from the new home of Drake Lighting in Paducah, Kentucky. We're going to talk to the president, sales manager, and some of the engineers here at Drake Lighting to talk about tower lighting and what is new and amazing about it. Hey, Chris Tarr actually has today off, so it'll just be me. You get to hear me for an hour, except when I can wrangle one of these guys into telling you about tower lighting and what's new in that world. So our show is brought to you in part by our friends at Nautel. And also, we have more sponsors: Broadcast Bionics, Broadcasters General Store, Max Connect Wireless, and Angry Audio. We'll be hearing from them as we go through the show, and I hope you'll give them the pleasure of your pleasure of patronizing their business. All right, let's start out with Mark Walker. Hi, Mark. Good to have you here.
Nice seeing you, Kirk. Glad you came.
Mark, tell me your title here at Drake Lighting.
I am Broadcast Sales Manager, and I strictly sell the high-intensity light kits for your broadcasting tires, 700 foot and above. And I got my start, real quick story. I was buying light kits from Drake Lighting, and I retired from my job in Florida, and one thing led to another, and here I am. So I'm going to work another 2 to 3 years.
Now we're gonna get a little history out of the way. Drake Lighting is in a new building, and
Correct.
There's a reason that Drake Lighting is in a new building. Why don't we get the big picture out and have a look at some disaster? Okay, right over here. So Drake Lighting was in what, Mayfield, Kentucky? Mayfield, Kentucky, and any association with World Tower Corporation? Oh, same. Okay, so I've known World Tower for years. Let's hold this up. This is a printed picture of. Let's pull back a little bit, Mark. There we go. What are we looking at here, Mark?
This is the like I say, World Towers in one part of the building, and Drake Lighting was in the other half. And the tornado came in December, and this is right before I hired him. And I literally came up here, and it was gone. I couldn't believe it. It was the storm. It went for miles and miles and miles, and people lost their lives. And the candle factory, real close.
Yeah,
was real close to this facility, and of course they had a lot of fatalities and just a bad story.
Did you show up for your job interview and the building looked like this?
No, that was a phone call between then and when I finally started. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So this was in Mayfield, Kentucky, and I mentioned here. I got it. I mentioned World Tower. I certainly have done business in the past with World Tower. They built some towers for me. But how long was Drake associated or in that building?
What was it, Dave? About 6 years.
Okay. Okay. All right. What else can you tell me about Drake Lighting? Just give me an overview of what Drake Lighting does. Obviously, tower lights, but you guys are really helpful to the industry in other ways too.
Oh yeah, it's one thing is simplicity, and that's what really sold me on wanting to work for this company. Once we put in our first high intensity, this company I was working for in Florida, all the equipment was on the ground.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All we put on the tower, the lights and a couple of runs of number 12 wire to the tier lights, and that's it.
We're going to talk about the technicalities of how you guys have taken tower lighting. I recall, as an engineer who hired tower companies and oversaw the installation of lighting, how much electronics was 1,200 feet up the tower. And I thought, that's a lot of money up there, a lot of expertise up there. And my lights quit working. A climber goes up there and figures out what's wrong, but doesn't have the parts. That means he's got to come back another day on a 1,200 foot tower.
Exactly. And all of our electronics are on the ground, and normally the site engineer, whatever, they can normally repair it on the ground themselves or call us. We can walk them through it real quick.
So the current state of technology is to put the electronics on the ground and just have the minimum equipment on the tower.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be taking a tour through some of these lighting systems that are behind us in just a little bit, and we'll get that explanation. Now, besides tower lighting, I know you're in charge of broadcast lighting. You said only the tall towers. You don't deal with the short towers, right?
I do not. There's way too many short towers in the nation. I'm limited, just strictly broadcast.
Give me a thumbnail sketch. What are some of the requirements for tall towers for lighting these days with the FAA?
Okay, one of the new changes was you can put a like a medium intensity up to 700 feet now.
Okay.
Once you break that 7-foot barrier, you have to go to high intensity.
That used to be a lower
Yes, it
height,
did.
500
Yes,
or so.
500 foot. Is that correct, David? Yes.
Okay, so now you can go up to 700. You don't have to put high intensity on, but once
Exactly.
700, then it's high intensity. Okay.
Yes, it's
All
high
right.
intensity,
All
right.
right.
And one of the big things now is, you have to have IR incorporated in your lights at
Well,
nighttime.
what's that mean?
Infrared for your pilots, mainly your helicopter pilots, because they use the night vision goggles, and so at nighttime we have infrared in all of our lights.
Now, did older lighting systems have enough infrared spill into that spectrum that they didn't need a separate infrared light
I don't even think they were incorporated in.
spill? Okay, so incandescent lighting would spill into the infrared spectrum, right? So,
Mhm.
and now this is for helicopter pilots who are wearing goggles?
Yes,
Oh,
mainly
and
military.
so does that imply we'll get? And if I need to ask Dave in a few, LEDs tend to be a very narrow band of light, and I take it that doesn't spill in the infrared area, and so this is a problem for pilots wearing goggles at night flying low.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay. And well, I'll say that question for David. But modern LED systems, you can add infrared capability to them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow, that's something I had never heard of or thought about. So on these high intensity systems, do you have different levels of high intensity light, or is it just at the top?
No, it's if you have 1,000 footer, that's going to be
Mhm.
what we call a 3-tier system.
Ah,
So you'll have 3-tier lights equally spaced, starting, you start at the top, very top of your structure, then equally spaced down. If it's 1,000 footer. Now, if it has a pertinence on top over 40 feet, you have to put an AOL on top. Like
I hear that phrase a lot. What does AOL
it's
mean?
just a top beacon, and we
Okay.
we call it G5, and
Oh,
it's
and
it's
antenna obstruction light.
yep.
So it doesn't have to be the high intensity like the other
No,
lights?
no.
Ah, okay. It's a
And
medium.
if your pertinence is under 40 feet, you do not have to put an AOL on top.
That makes sense now because I've seen towers that obviously had high intensity lighting at the top of the structure, but then they had one more light up higher that wasn't as bright.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you have multiple antennas, like some of your candelabra type towers at the top, they'll have like 3 broadcasters up there. You have to put 2 AOLs up there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
Now, we're in a warehouse right now. Behind us, we're going to look at this area in a few minutes. But on the other side of the camera is a bunch of stock, and you guys make parts, but not just parts for your lights.
We make parts and we repair all types of light systems nationwide.
Huh. That's pretty cool that that you make parts for other lighting systems. And well, we can take a minute to talk about your training area. We were thinking about setting the camera up there, but we're going to stay here. Your training area. The first thing I noticed was, wait a minute, you've got every other brand of lighting in here, and not your own. I guess yours don't need fixing. But tell me about training on other brands of lights.
Well, we have clients, not only they run our light systems, they have light systems from the past, other companies and stuff, and
Mhm.
and we'll get a call, can you fix our light system? And yeah, we'll be right there, and we have a truck full of parts. We go to the site, we know what's wrong because they've been trained in the training area on these systems,
Mhm.
and they know what to change out and get the light kit back on air. So
So, you'll be conducting training. You know what we didn't do? We talked about the Mayfield facility that got hit by a tornado. We didn't talk about this facility.
yeah.
So we're a few miles away from Mayfield in Paducah, Kentucky. Tell me about where we are now.
We are on McCracken Boulevard, and we're kind of on the southeast side of the downtown Paducah.
Yep.
Of course, Paducah is right on the Ohio River before you go into Illinois on I-24. And this is a fairly new facility here, and I have a picture here I'd like to show
Oh
everybody
yeah,
the
yeah.
new
Go ahead.
facility.
Yeah, we're talking by the way to Mark Walker. Mark is the broadcast sales director for the big towers. And so this, oh, good picture. Okay, so this is the building we're in now. Let's see if we can hold it. There we go. That way. All right.
Yeah, that's a new facility. And David had found this and purchased this for the tornado hit. And this is going to be like a long-term project, get it ready, to move into and get the warehouse going. And of course, when the tornado hit, he turned like a 7/8 month project to get over here in about 5 days. In 5 days, he was back up and running after that hurricane hit.
In
I'm
addition,
sorry, tornado.
now you guys have engineering offices in here, sales. You have some obviously warehousing, test facilities, training facilities.
Correct.
But you're building a building right next door to this building. What's that about?
That's going to be our warehouse, and if we could turn the camera around, you can see we're really crowded in here.
Okay. All right. We'll turn it around here. There we go. So we got all kinds of. These are all lighting systems.
Correct. And these are lighting systems waiting to be tested, shipped out. And we have another warehouse that we're using in Paducah. And as soon as the new one is finished here, we get to move everything in our warehouse on site, which is going to make it a lot easier, especially for the guys, shipping, receiving, and the guys in here testing can get stuff out of the way so they can test a lot more light kits. So
we've got technical discussions coming up about these LED systems and how they've come along. At first, LED systems seemed a little shaky to me. I heard a lot of complaints about them, but you came and talked to our SBE group a couple months ago.
Yes, in Nashville,
and I thought it was just fascinating. I was really impressed with the technology, the build quality of how these systems work. We're going to be right back and talk about that, and talk about how monitoring services and things like that and ease of repair are really being focused upon these days as compared to years ago.
Exactly.
Hey, it's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm talking to Mark Walker, the broadcast sales manager at Drake Lighting. And our show is brought to you in part by our friends at Nautel. They make the stuff that also goes, at the bottom of the tower. Nautel FM transmitters and AM transmitters, even shortwave transmitters. But if you go to the website, nautel.com, and you go to the resources tab, you can take a look. In fact, Suncast is going to show us here. Some of the resources available at nautel.com are some calculators, an FM cost of operation comparison, for example. You can compare different transmitter styles. You can also look at your AM MDCL savings calculator. MDCL is where you change the carrier level on an AM transmitter depending on what the modulation is that you need. Bottom line is it can save you a lot of money on electricity. The more expensive your electricity is, the more that MDCL can save you. And really, MDCL, for transmitters that are ready for it, that's just a firmware upgrade for the transmitter. And then you set a few settings and voila, your power bill starts going down. So Nautel has these tools that you can find out about at nautel.com. By the way, the Nautel Transmission Talk Tuesdays roundtable discussions, those start back up in November. So stay tuned right here, and we'll keep you updated on when Jeff Welton will be back on their Tuesdays on the roundtable discussions. Those are always fascinating, and you get to participate. If you want to ask a question of the experts, you can do so. If you have your own story to tell, or maybe you want to disagree with the experts, as I often have, then you can check into the roundtable. Jeff Welton will put you on the air if you like, and you can talk to the experts on their roundtable discussions. So check all that out at nautel.com. Really appreciate Nautel's sponsorship of This Week in Radio Tech. And we always appreciate Jeff Welton and his service to the industry by getting information out there with humor, but also good information. Thanks a lot, Nautel. Nautel.com. Okay, we're at Drake Lighting in Paducah, Kentucky. They moved here after a tornado hit their building in Mayfield, Kentucky. And some of the most sophisticated lighting systems that I've seen, sophisticated, I think, in their simplicity. You look at controllers from years ago, and they're just full of parts that have to be troubleshot and perhaps individually replaced, whereas today's controllers look to be a whole lot simpler. Mark, you got a couple of guys here that you want to introduce us to one of them?
I will. First thing I want to show you part of our service work here. I want to show you a picture of some kind of service work that we do. This is
sure. Yeah, go ahead. Mark's going to go get another big picture. We found this is easy, if not very basic way to share information. Look at this. We got these big pictures in the hallways here. We can put it behind us right here and hold it up like, there we go. What's that?
Yeah, Kirk, I just wanted to let you know this is our owner right here, David Shepard, and he's literally with one of our clients. See one of these light systems. So David said, I'll come to the field and meet you, and I'll take you to a site.
Now, David looks scared to death here. Says his first time on a tower.
No. Okay. I just had him on a 2,000 footer in Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But no, that's David's very serious about our service, and if you have any issues at all, we're here to serve.
That's good. So you guys do all sizes of towers for lighting systems.
Oh yes. from the minimum requirement all the way up to 2,200 feet.
Why would I'll ask you one more sales question before we move on to some other technical stuff. Why would a tower owner like me? I'm part owner of some radio stations, and why would I want to change out a lighting system? Maybe mine's giving me trouble, or can I save money on electricity, or I don't know what are some reasons to update an existing tower?
Well, I'll let Dave explain that when he gets into technical stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's reasons to change it out, and one of these days, parts going to be obsolete. Number
Mm.
one, so that will happen on some of these systems. But in the meantime, we have Ryan here, our director of sales. Going to let him speak a little bit, and we'll get David
Come
on
on in,
here.
Ryan. How you doing?
How are you, sir?
I'm Kurt. Good to meet you, man.
Ryan.
Ryan
Pleasure.
Harper, right?
Yep.
All right. So, what's your story? I guess I want to ask, what is popular these days and why? What are tower owners moving to or
Mhm.
putting on new towers?
Well, when we're talking about the systems that they've used in the past, incandescent and xenon systems, they're just less efficient. I mean, they cost more money to operate. So we sell only LED systems. Now we do sell parts. We manufacture our own parts here, and I'll get into that a little bit here shortly. But when you're talking about the LED systems, you're talking about a system that is just way more efficient on your energy costs and on replacement parts. So when we look at a xenon system, I have to go out there if something goes wrong, and you got to climb it, diagnose what's wrong. If we have to put plates in, put tubes in, or if you have to switch stuff out on the bottom. So the costs over its lifetime are much greater than with an LED system. Tower owners today, what they're wanting is ease of use. They don't want problems.
Don't want problems.
That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
the main thing is they don't want problems. That's why we design our systems with simplicity in mind. Um, people want to add features like it's a car or something. It's like it's not a car. You don't need all these features. What it needs to do is it needs to function. It needs to be compliant, and it needs to operate with ease. Very very minimal interaction from the owner with it. I mean, obviously you have to go out there every now and again, address certain issues, but for the most part, you just want it to blink consistently over its life and give you as few problems as possible.
If I build a new tower, am I still allowed to put incandescent lighting on? I am, right?
You are.
Yeah.
So, depending on what your tower has been determined for. So, if
Ah.
you have a old determination that was in that incandescent period, yes, you could still put those lights up there. Technically, you could probably still put those up there, even you know for red light system. Now, when you get it redetermined under a new standard, you can request, oh, I want an LED system, or I
Yeah.
want medium dual system. At that point, it probably behoove you to do the LED system, but yes, you can still use older legacy systems for compliance.
Thinking about longevity, I mean, with incandescent lights, um, Mark, there's a bag behind you there, that blue and black bag. Um, yeah, there's something in there. Well, could you pull it out and we'll take a quick look at it? You know, things like this, parts like this, near and dear to people's hearts. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
I
that's
got an
a
idea.
620 watt. I found this in my garage somewhere.
Wow.
I'm sure I took this off a tower at some
Yeah.
point. I used to gain a lot of pleasure from pulling a burned one out and tossing it down into the grass below and just watching it, end over end over end
Yeah.
all the way down, and seeing if will it break or not. Like throwing
Right.
an egg off the tower. Will it break or will it not break? And half the time it wouldn't break. But the one thing we know about these is they will burn out.
Yes.
Absolutely, positively, you will be replacing this
Yes.
at some point. And if one burns out, well, the tower climber is expensive. You're going to just replace them all.
Mhm.
The bulbs are expensive, and you're going to replace them all. And probably the obstruction lights, the side lights.
Mhm.
When you're going up there. So these are, they're beautiful in their simplicity with the little motor relay and the
Right,
mercury
right.
thing at the bottom, or the little what the solid state relays, yeah, the flashers. But those get zapped by lightning pretty good. So we went from these to strobe systems,
Mhm.
and we all thought, hey, we're moving into the
Right.
future now, strobe
Right,
systems.
That's right.
Until we started getting the bills for repairing a strobe system. Oh my goodness. And it just seems like LED is really the next thing. Now, but, I'm going to let you correct me and tell me where we are now. But when LEDs first came out, we thought, oh, that's really cool. Then we heard about some problems, RF getting into them, and maybe them burning out quicker than they should have. But we are at least 10, 12 years down the road from my first experience with LEDs, and hearing about them. What's different these days? How are LEDs doing in terms of longevity?
Well, I mean, they're so ubiquitous now in everything, not just tower lighting. And
Traffic lights.
That's right. So what people have found in regards to tower lights is the things that make LEDs last longer, the environments that they need to be in to give more longevity. So heat is a killer of LED systems. So if you're looking at one of our beacons here, we have an oversized heat sink at the bottom.
Yeah.
Dissipates that heat out, makes your LEDs last that much longer. In different little features that they've added into it into the power supply, that make it operate with more efficiency, because LEDs, they don't take a whole lot of energy, not like a strobe would. And like you said with the bulb, each rendition, it gives you that much more longevity. Now, when you get to the beginning of anything, it's usually has its kinks to work out. But we're in that part right now where we're well into LEDs being the most viable solution that you could have right now.
I do feel like in the last few years, the technology has moved into a sweet spot where it's a really good. You use the word rendition, but yeah, different. Mark showed me a high intensity beacon in Nashville, the third curve thing, and I was impressed with the heat sinks. My goodness! So yeah, that thing's not going to overheat. You're wicking all the heat away from the LEDs.
That's right. Yeah, and it gives it that much more longevity. So, and that was the first thing I learned when I came on here, was that LEDs hate heat.
Yeah,
that's a killer of LEDs. And that's why we had to, we put our heads together as far as how do you design an LED system that the heat is not a factor.
Yeah.
So obviously, you still have certain issues, but they're very few in regard to other systems.
So we're going to play show and tell here in a few minutes. Let's see. It is time to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our friends at Broadcast Bionics and talk to you about some really cool studio systems that help you make much better content, so that the stuff that you put up the tower that goes right past the tower lights sounds great and is very compelling content. So we'll be right back after this from Broadcast Bionics.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These can be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Thanks so much to Broadcast Bionics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. I promise you won't be disappointed if you go to bionics.co.uk. They have agents, dealers in the U.S. as well. So check that out from Broadcast Bionics. Thanks a lot. All right. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack. We're doing This Week at Radio Tech live from Drake Lighting in Paducah, Kentucky. And I'm here with Ryan Harper, who's the sales manager. Ryan has some history of lighting and also what else you guys do here. I think this is fascinating. You know, when if I buy a lighting system, I want to buy it from a company that's going to be around for a while, so I'm not orphaned in terms of parts. You guys have taken the parts business to like another level. You know, and hey, many of you engineers, you can identify with this. You're listening to the radio, maybe some local radio station, and so many stations, so many advertisers have used the phrase, we sell the best and service the rest. Well, that's what you guys do here. You service the rest. You guys actually manufacture parts, what, for other brands of systems?
Yes. Yeah. So for other brands of systems, and we've done this for a long time now. We have our own internal service crews that we use for, to do service work for our clients. But we've always made parts for them that we haven't made available to the public. But, due to we selling them to certain clients and due to demand of those parts, we decided to offer those to the public. But the parts that we make they're different than the OEM parts.
Right.
They're enhanced as far as what we're adding back into it to make it a better product. What matters to us is longevity. We want to sell you a part. We want it to last longer. We don't want it to have any issues. That's what's important to us is quality. And it was that we used it for our crews because we put our stamp on something. We want it to last as long as it can. But that said, we want the tubes that you buy, the plates that you buy, the Enduro pack, which I can get into a little bit. We want these products to last for a long time. Now the Enduro pack is our newest product line. And it's not new to us. It's just new to the public. So what it is say you have a Flash 324 system. You got, it comes with your plates, your tubes, and some things that you put in the ground, capacitors and whatnot to really as a standard. So when you go out there, you replace all these things and you'll get max life out of that system. Nobody else is offering that right now. And that's a one part number solution. So you order one part number, you get all these things, and it's a strategy that we've been implementing for years now. And what we have found is that in your second year, you'll see reduced operating costs. And it's pretty serious.
So this is for people that already have like a strobe system. Yeah. You mentioned the word flash. You're referring to flash technology, or
it's in that example, it's their particular product.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. And so this is a kit of parts that replaces things that came in there, right? What's that? Turn the cast. Oh, out of frame. Sorry. We'll walk back. I'm pushing Ryan out of frame. Sorry about that. Because I'm so narcissistic, I've got to be right in the middle. So you end up refreshing your older strobes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's basically what it does. It puts better parts in there, takes these older parts out, whether they be OEM or non-OEM. Yeah. The things that we're putting in there are going to give it max life, which is what's super important to us as far as from a quality standpoint and from a customer satisfaction standpoint. That's always been our mantra is, do what's right by the customer.
Sometimes I see people rebuilding or upgrading their cars, their older muscle cars, and maybe they'll put some parts in there that say Mopar on them, or maybe some other brand of maybe a carburetor, a Holley carburetor, or something that's supposed to be really good. I've seen your guys' parts that says Drake parts on it, and that's going into something that wasn't originally made by Drake.
That's right. Yeah, we call it draking a system. So, basically we put our stuff in there, and it's like you said, it's equivalent to like a K&N air filter. It's going to give you more horsepower, going to give you just better efficiency, better life. Yeah.
Hey, so I wonder if we could talk about some of the stuff that's around us right here. Do you want to? Or
yeah.
Okay. I think this is a long enough cable on it. We can actually pick it up. Can you pick up that? Yeah. All righty. All right. Tell me what we're looking at here. Ryan?
Okay, this is our medium intensity beacons, L864, L865 light. So this right here, the cool thing about our systems is that this can be a E1 configuration or a D1 configuration. All it is a dip switch setting. So this can be white day, white night, or red night, white day. And the only thing that changes on the white and white is the intensity of light.
So this will do white as well.
Just white. So
Okay.
if you are determined for a D1 like a white only system,
Mhm.
you flick some dip switches on there, and then it's a white only system. But if you ever get it redetermined, you're like, you know what, I'm getting complaints about the white light at night. Maybe you're close to an urban area. Then at that point, you could refile it, and at no additional cost, somebody goes out there, flips the right dip switch. Now it's going to blink the red at night. So
I want to tilt this so the camera can see the top a bit and see how the brightness goes away. Obviously, these are directed lights, directed out output.
Narrow, like 3-degree band.
Same thing if you go this way. Okay, if you're under the light, you're not getting direct light.
No.
But with what's so cool, and let's see if we can get this a little closer to the camera. I don't know that we can.
If you look, you can see it on my shirt a lot of times. See
Oh
the
yeah,
band?
you see the band. Oh yeah, the band right there. But
Yeah.
but the design of this is such that I know we're short on cord there. We can bring the camera closer. How about that? All right, and we'll tilt this down. I want to show folks that the way this works is it's got this big mirror in the back here, this reflector, right? Does the reflector have a particular parabolic shape? Okay, parabolic shape. It's part of a parabola. It's okay. Okay, so it has a 3 degree band coming out, but the LED that's flashing is on a circuit board at the bottom, and it reflects up into this, right?
That's correct.
I think that's ingenious. I've seen others to work similar ways too, but that's a pretty ingenious system. Tell me about the heat sink. There's a lot of heat sink under there. Look at that.
Yeah, it's
goodness.
it's an oversized heat sink, so a little bit different than our competitors. So, like I said, stated earlier, is the heat kills the LEDs. So
Yeah.
we decided to put that in there, and it really is proved. I mean, we have very, very, very few failures. I'd say less than 1% failure on the beacon overall of the ones that we've had out in the field. So very, very reliable.
Hey, listen to this. We're getting the band back together. And the top is painted white, and that's to reflect sunlight, so it remains cooler, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Now let's put that down and see. I can't bring the camera any closer, but we'll at least look at the controller over here. Yeah, a little bit closer. Let's take a look at let's walk us through what I'm looking at right here with this. Oh, let's see. Let's get you out of the camera.
Yeah.
So we can pull it right around to here. All right. What are we looking at right in here?
Okay, so this is our medium intensity system. This is the power supply that goes on the ground.
Mhm.
All the smarts, all the intelligence is in this.
Uh-huh.
So there's what we like to say here is that the light's dumb,
Yeah.
but this is really smart, because this is where you want it. You want it on the ground so somebody can diagnose it from the ground. It cuts down on your climbs that are costly. It cuts down a lot of unnecessary expense. The difference between our board and others is we've got built-in redundancy, so we have an overcapacitance here, so we have extra capacitors.
Okay.
If something goes out, these kind of take over
Yeah.
as far as that, so you don't have to worry about, I blew a capacitor. Well, there's extra capacitors, redundant capacitors, right?
Okay.
And the design of this is completely different than what you'll see out there. So there's two types of designs of boards. Some I've seen are they're modular. So you might have like component here, component here, component here, component here, or it'll just be a bunch of parts that you can replace.
Yeah.
This is a one board solution. So it has a 5-year warranty. So when something goes wrong with this board, we don't try to replace the little things or try to figure it out, because it's an integrated system.
Yeah.
Just because this piece is burnt up doesn't mean that is the culprit of the problem. Not in all cases. So what we do is you call us, it's under warranty. I've actually replaced one of these, and I'm not a very electrical person, you know what I mean? So you take the board out, actions, and it runs. So the way we like to look at it is, if there's something wrong with the board, you send it back, we send you a new one. And it's like replacing the engine every time.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to diagnose little pieces of it.
You know, a lot of engineers, and I get it. A lot of engineers appreciate being able to do component level replacement, or we used to.
Mhm.
These days, so many engineers, we don't have time to learn about stuff or to spend hours troubleshooting
Right.
something to do a true component level replacement. So a board level replacement or a board level repair,
Mhm.
you haven't lost the board's value entirely. You send
No.
it back, you guys rework it. You're the experts. You know every
Yeah.
part that's on there.
And the board that we send you is going to have another warranty on it as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
not like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to replace this, again. So the way I kind of look at it is, and the only reason I say this, because I've been in the field and I've seen how they replace individual components.
Uh-huh.
And, you can't look at it as like, well, unless you have the knowledge to replace it, you have to call somebody, they'll have to come out there, replace it. So there's a site fee plus parts. With this, basically, I mean, I've replaced them. It's literally like 5 screws. You undo it, put the new one in. Fantastic. Works great.
By the way, I want to point out something to my engineering friends. As much as some of us might romanticize about component level replacement, how many times have you dug into a transmitter, an audio processor, an audio console? Somebody's done a component level replacement in there to fix something and they butchered it in the process. It just, what were they thinking? This is the wrong part. They used 7 parts where, the right one would have done. They strung, 4 resistors and 2 capacitors together because they couldn't get hold of the right thing. And so, I listen, I kind of romanticize rose-colored glasses about the memories of component level troubleshooting and replacement. Sure, there's comes pride with that. But look, I don't need my pride.
That's
I need to
right.
get the lights working
That's
again.
right.
And I need to have you guys figure out what was wrong with the board.
That's right. Yeah. No, I get it, man. There's a level of satisfaction you get from doing it for the do-it-yourself thing.
Yeah.
But leave that to like the beds and in the shelves and stuff. But when it comes to lights, let us try to be the lighting expert as far as that goes. Most people would rather that because it's about compliance. It's about getting the tower back up and blinking so that you're completely compliant and not liable for anything that may happen in the meantime.
I'm going to ask you about, there's something on the lid of this. There's 4, what do you call these standoffs that you can screw a bolt into. And I know they have a name. I just can't think of it right now. And so it looks like there's a board that can go on this lid.
Yes.
And this is where we're going to pivot to your friend David.
Yes.
Tell me what those bolt holes are for.
So what we're using them for is for monitoring plates, and I'm sure David will show you one here shortly. But the Drake monitoring system, we call it the DMS 275, state of the art, can monitor any light. So that's much more than I can say for some of.
Wait, you can add that board from remote monitoring to other brands of
any brand of lighting. So the only thing that we have to configure is the plate that it goes on. And we have external options for that as well. So yes, any brand of lighting that's out there right now, we can upgrade the monitoring with our monitoring. And
actually, there's one laying behind you. If you'll turn around and grab it, we're gonna get David to explain everything about it in a few minutes. But let's take a look at it basically here.
Yep.
Hold this up. So this bolts into your system, but it also bolts into other systems.
yes,
And this looks like contact closures and such come into here. Relay outputs. So you can actually
got analog, digital outputs. So it does have expandability. It can do the simplest things that you want, but in the future, if you wanted it to do other things, you have that capability as well. So it's all in this one thing here. The configuration that we have, we got a heat, humidity sensor, temperature sensor here. But yeah, this would just bolt right up here like that. And then it comes like this with the wiring harness, everything, and really in quick connects, you just make your connections and put it in, man.
There's something pretty cool on here. We'll before we go to commercial, we'll mention what this is. There's an SMA connector right here for an antenna. What kind of antenna attaches to that?
Here we go.
Hey,
there we go.
A ducky.
So this would be the antenna that we would hook up to this. So give it better, connectivity as far as that goes. But
this has a cellular radio in it.
Yes,
doesn't it? So it talks to the cell system, reporting on, hey, I'm okay, or hey, I'm not okay.
Yes.
And I understand you can even remotely turn the lights on or off or change
can.
mode.
Yes, we do have that capability as well.
Wow. All right. Well, there's some technology here that we were talking about simplifying things. To me, this adds some complication, but a very worthwhile complication
Absolutely.
when you want to monitor lights remotely. Hey, we are at Drake Lighting in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm Kirk Harnack along with Ryan Harper. We were talking to Mark Walker earlier, and David Shepard is coming up in a few minutes. He's going to talk to us more about the technical design features behind today's lighting, how it's different from yesterday's lighting, and how it's more reliable. Our show is brought to you in part by, I'm not going to make you stand here for the whole time because I'm going to do a commercial.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Ryan. Our show is brought to you in part by our friends at Henry Engineering. Henry Engineering makes boxes like this one. You've known Henry Engineering for years and years and years. They make things that make building studios and radio stations a lot easier and better. And this is the Henry Superlight. I've been telling you about this for literally for years. If you haven't bought one of these yet, you need to go out there and get one. You can order these from Broadcasters General Store. Now, the Henry Superlight, you probably remember its predecessor. It's the Henry Super Relay. And you've probably used Henry Super Relays in your radio stations to turn on your tally lights, to maybe mute the telephone or mute the speakers if your board didn't do it. Well, the Henry Superlight is meant for today's LED tally lights above the door outside the studio, or the lights on the microphone, the little ring that goes around the microphone arm. That's what this does. You can either use the internal power supply to light your LEDs, or you can add external power up to 2 amps to control your LED lighting. So you can control a lot of LED lighting with 2 amps. This also has some normally open and normally closed contacts on it, so you can hook it up to things. If you still need to mute some speakers, let's say you're using an inexpensive audio console that doesn't mute the speakers, well, you've got speaker muting now built right in with the Henry Superlight. The other cool feature is you can daisy chain up to 4 of these together. There's a little addressable jumper plug inside the Henry Superlight. So if it's convenient for you to wire them together, as we're showing you on the screen right now, you can wire them together, but give each one a separate address. And then you can just plug that into one of today's modern GPIO boxes, like those made by Axia or those made by Wheatstone or others. You can easily run several different studios off of even just one GPIO output on a GPIO device. So check that out, the Henry Superlight. And Henry makes a lot of really cool things that can help you build your studios. Headphone amplifier systems, microphone control systems, little distribution amplifiers, AES distribution amplifiers, things like that. Hank Landsberg at Henry Engineering does a super job. And just, he needs to be at top of your mind when you're building a studio. I need to get my Henry products to help me make my studio easier, better. And so you don't have to do it yourself. One time I forgot to buy a Henry Super Relay, and I was in American Samoa, and I had to take an old relay and wrap it with electrical tape and hide it up under the console, and it was terrible. And when we moved to a new building, yes, I got a Henry Super Relay to solve that problem. Check it out. Thanks to Broadcasters General Store, because that's where you can get all of the Henry products. Go to the website bgs.cc. Give them a call at 352-622-7700 for Broadcasters General Store, and let them give you a quote on all the stuff you need. They have sharp pencils at Broadcasters General Store, so check them out there. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack. I'm live today in Paducah, Kentucky at the new headquarters of Drake Lighting. New because they were moving here anyway, but also because their previous headquarters got pretty well torn up in that tornado that went through Mayfield, Kentucky. So we're here. David. David's here. Hi, David. Welcome in. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Dave Shepard, you are one of the owners here?
Yes,
or
sir.
the owner?
Yep. For the last 8 years, I am. Yeah.
every time we were doing the tour here before the show, every time I'd ask a question, you would pipe up with an amazing answer. So you got a lot of knowledge in this.
I've been doing this for a while. I started. I told somebody earlier. I said I remember Kirk when I was about 25. So we've been doing this a long time.
Wow. I used to do engineering in this town
I know.
years ago for WPAD.
Alan and
Yeah.
all that whole group. So it's been a while. So I started in late 80s is when I really started in the business, and all I've ever done was lighting. I've only done lighting in my life, and I worked for our specialties for a little while. So I've done a lot of antennas, transmitters.
Well, you know your way around a broadcast plant.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at a couple things here. This one, that looks like a beautiful
This,
little
this is
obstruction
a
light.
LED light. This is actually manufactured by Flight Light. That's who we use this from,
Uh-huh.
and they make a really good marker light. It's one of the only ones that's cast based. So this is a L810, so it's your mid level lights.
Okay.
They really don't use marker lights anymore except for on one system, and that's your A1 system. So anything 350 and less.
Oh, okay.
So on a 350-foot tower and less, you would use a set of marker lights at the mid level, and then on a dual lighting system like this one. This is actually set up to be a D1, which is the same height of tower, but it doesn't have marker lights at all. It's just a white only.
You know what I find interesting, and Mark Walker, when he came and talked to our SBE group, I noticed he was using. I'm pushing out. Sorry. He was using this language you guys use, D1, E1. He use these, and if you're in the tower business, you know exactly what these things are.
Right. So
if
we talk FAA.
Yeah,
that's how we talk. So this is the L810, not marker light.
Yep.
You would say this is an obstruction light.
Yep.
But from an FAA's perspective, this is the L810. This is a L865 or an L864 for red. So white in day mode, which would be 2,000 candelas, which would be bright. That would be your L865, and this is a L864 that's flashing in right now. So,
by the way, these are flashing red. Is it hard to make this flash white?
No.
Just as a demo, can you do that? All right, David Shepard's going to make this flash white. We're going to see how that looks.
This will change from night mode to day mode. It goes off, and then you'll get the white mode.
Oh my goodness! Look at that. Oh, here, let's get this to the camera a little bit. All right, you saw this in red mode a little while ago. This is white mode. Oh my goodness! Now it's really not bothering the camera too badly, but I can tell you here in person, it's bright.
It's really bright,
and that's medium intensity.
This is only medium intensity. So this is 20,000 candelas.
Okay,
and then at when it goes into when you go to the high intensity, which is what Mark showed y'all at the SBE meeting, that's 270,000 candelas. So it's 10 times. So it's intense. It's like it'll you don't want to look at it very long, that's for sure.
I got to tell our fans here on the show, we got a demo from Mark of now that unit that he showed us. It was a third of a way around a tower.
That was one third of the system. So you get 3 of those units per high intensity tier.
Yes.
So every tier you would have 3 of those.
And he turned it up to high intensity in the room where we were having our SBE meeting.
Yeah, and I think we got a call from the FAA because y'all were blind. You were blinding the control tower at Nashville. So I really appreciate that.
We were in an office building that was actually located just adjacent to the Nashville Airport property. Yes. And so yes, if the controllers at the tower had were looking our direction, they could probably see us waving in the window.
Sure they could. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Back to that.
So the monitoring unit.
Well, I want to look at that one more second. So there's 4 LEDs in there,
the way this
or
works
one?
is there's actually just one red LED.
Okay.
The 4 LEDs that you're looking at on the around the edge, that is the IR LEDs.
Oh, this does red and infrared.
Right. So all LED lights now have to be infrared capable. The standard color of the LED is 650 nanometers.
Okay.
So the blue filter on the pilot's goggles blocks that out. Gotcha. So you have to have the 900 nanometer infrared, which is crazy because you can't see it. It's not visible. So like when you look at this light when it's flashing, you won't see anything come out of those LEDs because they're not visible to the human eye, but they can do damage. So don't look at them.
Oh,
yeah, really? It's like you're not supposed to be looking at the infrared. So don't do that.
Now, so if there's only with the red, there's just the one, but there's a very special reflector there.
Yeah, this one has a top down view, so the lights are shining up. Yeah. And then the reflector comes out at the same beam pattern. Now, this one has a 10-degree beam is what the marker lights are.
Okay.
So it's a lot wider than the L864, which has a 3-degree. And it's one of those things, like if you look at marker lights on a tower, a lot of times, especially on LED systems, the marker lights themselves, they actually look brighter than the top beacon.
Oh, because you're off
and that's
axis.
because, like you showed, where
Yeah.
when you get out of that beam,
Mhm.
it looks dim, right?
Mhm.
So on a tower, obviously, it's much higher, and
Yeah.
you're getting less of that light. Whereas a marker light has a 10-degree beam, and it makes it look like the marker light is brighter, but it actually is a lot dimmer. So, like in a 1 mile visibility, the L864 you will see, but the marker light will go away completely.
Looks like there are 3 leads going into here. What are
So,
they?
so we just a hot and a neutral and a ground. So
Okay,
this
on the
happens to be a 120 version.
Okay.
So it's just a 120 volt version.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and then everything's built into it. So it's the driver and the LED source is all built in. Now, one of the things you got to be really careful about on marker light, especially with your 100 megahertz antennas,
Yeah.
is if that antenna is really close to this marker light. This one is not as bad because it's built in a case, so it's a cast box.
Right.
But if you've got a plastic version of that,
Ah.
that driver can cause noise on your antennas.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now you wanted to get to
This is actually what y'all were looking at, which was this.
yeah.
It just happens to be the cardboard box of it, but this is the monitoring unit. So one of the big things that you find on marker light on a monitoring of a lighting system remotely is the ability to shut the light off and bring it back on remotely. A lot of times can fix something. Like you've got something going on. I shut, a lot of times you open the door and that just energizes this interlock switches and it kills the power and you shut, and all of a sudden the light's working again. You're like, but doing that remotely is a really nice thing. So this one actually has outbound relays that we tied to a relay, to an external relay. So that the actual power of the beacon is running through this relay, and we cut it on and off remotely. And then we do the same thing for the photocell. So we can change the intensity either day mode to night mode or night mode to day mode. And we can do all that remotely. And then the actual monitoring is coming in on these digital inputs that are wired to, in our case, we have 6 input alarms that we come back to this unit. And we can monitor them. Now, probably the big thing for us is we are going away from the SNMP based monitoring and really going into an MQTT base.
Now this was kind of significant because in the broadcast world, as we were talking about before the show, there are engineers, manufacturers that are all pushing SNMP, and I've been trying to learn a bit about it myself. I know engineers. In fact, the usual co-host on this show, Chris Tarr, he's an SNMP wizard. Right. He's really good at it,
and it's huge. We have SNMP monitoring. Yeah. So like this is actually just dry contact monitoring, but we have SNMP monitoring on the card. So we can communicate. We just put a cellular modem onto this, and we're broadcasting over cellular. The big difference on this one is everything's all built into it. So it even has a backup battery in this unit.
All right.
And I noticed, we mentioned this is the back panel, right? But this back panel also fits many products. Like it's a direct replacement. You can install this in other lighting manufacturers based on their stud pattern that they have on their door. Yeah, which is one of the reasons you saw so many lights in the hallway back there, because we want to test that stuff and go, does this work in that light? So this panel was built so that it would actually work in a lot of different lights. Now, a lot of people want to put that external to the light. My preference is I put it in the light. And one of the reasons I do that is we have a temperature sensor and I can read the temperature inside that light. Yeah. So if I put it in an external box, I lose some of that value. So
this, there's a place for a cellular antenna to go on there.
That's just a standard antenna for a cellular antenna. Yeah, and obviously that would go outside of the box. Yep. And he showed you the antenna. Yeah. It's a mag mount. You stick it on top of as high as you can get it. Yeah. And you've got cellular connection. Now this one, what we do, you saw the monitoring room. So one of the big things that you do is I need secure monitoring. So we have our own APN with the carriers. So we have a dual SIMs capability. So we're monitoring either Verizon or AT&T based on the carrier's location. And what we can do is switch between one or the other. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. But one of the things we do is tunnel. So we're going directly from the AT&T straight to our monitoring platform, which is remote. And one of the big things that I would say is that when you go through a tornado, you realize the value of having everything remote. So we never had a moment that we weren't monitoring lights, even though our entire facility got wiped away.
Okay.
So having it
Okay.
all on an external remote platform really saved us. I mean, it like well, Mark told you, we literally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we were back online, like fully back online, and it was because we had the remote access.
Now, we're not going to get a chance to run over to that room right now. I was in there earlier. This is the remote monitoring room,
Right.
where you got maps. Look like there may be
well, obviously, we watch the weather.
You watch
pretty
the weather.
well.
Yeah.
So we have to have online live weather channels and lightning strikes. We pay attention to. Well, we have three things that we really monitor across the United States, and that is weather, wind, lightning. We have lightning monitoring, so we can actually see all the lightning strikes across the United States. So we really pay attention to that. Power outages across. So every county that loses power, we get visual indication that the power's out, and that's really important when you're monitoring lights. And if I know the power is out in that county, then that's why the light's out. So we get a lot of visual information.
So in the monitoring room, when I was in there earlier, it sounded like one of your technicians was on the phone talking to another technician about either setting up a new system or troubleshooting or something like that. But I take it that they would also notify the FAA if there was an outage that
So
warranted.
Monitoring today is quite a bit different than the past, but we used to have to pick the phone up and call somebody, but that really doesn't happen much anymore. It's all electronic. So they go online. We have a portal with the FAA. We log that NOTAM, give the correct information, and then we get a notification back that it's been logged, and you get a number, and that's part of what they do. So if something goes, most of the time when we are trying to do this, we give tech support for people across the country for just about every light. So that's part of what we do when we're monitoring systems for people. We want to be able to have people on staff that actually can do technical support for all different light systems. So you saw the
that's why your training room.
It's actually Drake Academy. So Drake Academy is being built so that we can actually train more people. Our goal is to train as many people as we can on all different aspects of lights. We don't really obviously number one is mine. I want to train that first, but we train on all different lighting systems to just about anybody, even our competitors. We want everybody to have the most knowledge on, especially legacy lights like xenon systems. We really want them to understand what we do, and Mark touched on it. So for the last 8-9 years, we've been doing service work in certain way. So we know that this brand of lighting system, especially a xenon or a legacy light, we know what makes that light last longer.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily, and I tell people this all the time. It's like you'll have a technician that fixes your light and they'll use chewing gum and get it to work. He's not doing you a favor. And he actually thinks he's doing you a favor, right? And honestly, not from a bad way, but from an honest way. And that's really not true. You're better off to do a strategy. And that strategy requires you to pay attention to what the common failure points are, take care of those while you're standing there, and we call it refurbishing the light, but we want to refurbish that product. And our goal is to make it last 24 to 36 months, not 6 months. Right. So repairing is not always the right way. Now, what we have done is we took that wisdom and we stuck it in a single box so that customers can say, I want to know what the wisdom is on that brand of light. I can buy that one part and 12 parts come. So that's kind of why we did the Enduro packs.
Oh, that's right.
So that
Okay.
they're really simple ways for customers to get that wisdom without knowing what they're doing. Just, this is the stuff I need. They refurbish the light. They can send it to a technician that may or may not even know what they're doing, other than they're good, certified climbers, obviously. But so it's a way for them to take that wisdom that we've had over the last 8-10 years, that, well, my whole life, but you learn how to fix things so that they last longer. That's our goal.
It sounds like this is a way to actually kind of refurbish in place.
Yes.
You're not having to take the system down, let somebody else refurbish something.
Right.
I liken it in a small analogy to when the air conditioner technician says, "Hey, you need a soft start on your compressor on the air conditioner.
Right.
It'll make your capacitors last longer and your compressor last longer." You're more sophisticated than that, but it's
That's
the same
exactly
idea.
what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that now for a while, and it was only after customers requested that we provide those parts. So that's kind of the way we do it.
Dave, we're going to take a quick break.
Yes, sir.
When we come back, we'll have just enough time for a quick tip of the week or something like that. So hang on. It's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. Chris Tarr is on holiday today. He's taking the day off. We're in Paducah, Kentucky at Drake Lighting. Our show is brought to you in part by our friends at, look at this, Max Connect Wireless. This is so cool. In fact, I just used one of these this past weekend in order to put a radio station back on the air in Memphis, Tennessee. Here's Gary Morrill to tell you more about Max Connect.
I'm Gary Morrill, Midwest Regional Director of Engineering for Alpha Media. When I first spoke with Josh Bone about Max Connect, he told me that it worked great for remote transmitter sites where connectivity was a challenge. And he's absolutely right. We even have sites where we're using this as a backup to our STL using Max Connect's dual carrier option, and it works perfectly. We also have times where we need to be able to get out to a venue where it's kind of challenging because everybody and his brother is trying to stream video at the same time, like at a big sporting event. And you know what? Our data gets through every time because it's prioritized packet data. It works for us. It'll work for you. Max Connect. Check it out.
So I'll tell you again, this past weekend, I got a call from a radio station, a friend of mine at WEVL in Memphis, Tennessee. They were off the air. Lightning hit the tower site and it blew up the Comcast cable. And so we were sending MPX over IP to their transmitter site. Well, it blew up and we were out of Comcast cable. They were off the air. So we hooked up a Max Connect wireless to their Omnia MPX node. And we back on the air. It was so cool. Comcast came back out on Tuesday and fixed it. So they were on the air for a good 2.5 days or so on Max Connects. Thanks a lot. Hey, our show is also brought to you by our friends at Angry Audio. Remember, don't get mad, get angry with Angry Audio. This is an Angry Audio headphone amp. I love this one because this one mounts underneath the console and it's smooth and curvy. And David, come on in here. Yeah. I tell people I love this headphone amp because it won't snag your pantyhose.
No, it won't.
it's nice and smooth. And on the front, of course, it's got the volume control. It handles both sizes of headphone jacks, 1/4 inch and the 3.5 millimeter. But on the back, it's got your RJ45 connectors for audio in and audio out. Now, that's not Ethernet. That's the Studio Hub standard for hooking up audio left and right analog, and also power runs along with that. So you can power 3 of these with one power adapter. So that fits the bill for a lot of studios, just one power adapter, just a plug in the wall wart sort of power adapter, and you can plug all those headphone amps. So check that out from Angry Audio. They have all kinds of headphone amps there. And of course, you can get your Studio Hub adapters to make your wiring so easy. I will not wire a studio without having my Studio Hub adapters. Thanks to Mike Dosh and everybody at Angry Audio. Really appreciate your support, and they would appreciate you giving them a call. Check out their website at angryaudio.com. All right. We're going to finish up here. We're at Drake Lighting.
Appreciate it.
David Shepard, you got a tip that you'd like to leave engineers with?
I would tell you that pay attention to the new standard where you can eliminate marker lights on your tower that is over 7. If you got a tower that's over 350, you can turn those marker lights off. Okay. And there's a step process in that. What I would tell you to do is contact my buddy Mark Walker. Yeah. He can help you decide whether you fit that or not. you got to be kind of careful with that because there's some really old legacy towers out there that you could get in spending a whole lot more money than you thought you were going to save. So, feel free to reach out to Mark Walker at Mark at drakeway.com. So he can answer your questions on that and get you the right advice on that, a way to lower your cost by eliminating lights. So that's one of the ways that you can eliminate lights.
Did they do that in part to help protect the birds?
It's all about the birds.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's that, and making the lights flash faster. So remember, we were talking about on the incandescent lights, they can't flash at the 30 flashes per minute.
What's that new rule about?
So when they switched to flashing every 30 flashes per minute,
that's a thing, huh?
That's a thing.
Okay.
The incandescents, they struggle at about 20 flashes per minute.
Yeah.
So they really can't reach that 30 flashes per minute. These are 40 flashes per minute, and that's a bird thing. The longer the lights are on, the more bugs they attract. The more bugs they attract, the more kills you get.
Yeah.
So they did that to help eliminate them. That's why you see all these marker lights, they're flashing now. So all marker lights flash. They don't stay steady unless you're on a really legacy site.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to be careful, because you know how old systems, they had a 1/3 rule. So like you can have marker beacon.
Right.
Well, on those, if you went to switch to the new standard, you'd have to have a triple beacon system, and it's going to cost you about $30,000. So you need to be careful about switching to the bird standard, but I would highly recommend anybody that can switch to the bird standard, they should do it.
So it sounds like if you are a tower owner and you want to see, hey, can I save some money by doing different tower lights, have your instrument of authorization in hand, maybe, so you can say what you're authorized
and
for.
if you don't, we can look that up.
Okay.
Some of the really old stuff we can't look up because it
Yeah.
ain't online, but it really knowing what you have on the tower today, and if you know the FAA standard that you were issued that lighting, it's called an ASN, Aeronautical Study Number.
Yep.
So if you have that aeronautical study information, that's what Mark would need to see, and then we can look up if you are a candidate to save money or leave it alone.
Yeah, because
what I would tell people that aren't qualified for that, changing to LED is okay. You don't. That's a maintenance issue, so a lot of people get confused on that. And you don't have to have a new standard or a new certification on your light systems. You just have to change them like you would a maintenance on a bulb. So
Gotcha.
it just goes to LED.
David Shepard, thank you so much. Appreciate it. David Shepard and Mark and Ryan, we're all here to talk about lighting and how things have changed and how the technology today is even better. Hey, I want to thank our sponsors for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Also want to thank Suncast for producing the show, keeping me on time, or trying to. Thank you, Suncast. Really appreciate you. And next week, we're going to try to do the show from the Ohio Association of Broadcasters, their Multimedia Technology Conference, on Thursday next week. So we're going to give that a try. Maybe we'll be having dinner or something like that. But you can join us in a conversation next week from Columbus, Ohio. So thanks again. We'll see you next week.